In this discussion, we will discuss the discussion question of list and describe steps to making a managerial decision. If we see a discussion question or essay question such as this, our goal typically is to add more information, because if we add more information too, if we can expand on the topic, more likely to pick up some of those points, pick up some of that information looking for or looked for within an essay question. And in a discussion question, of course, our goal is to add more information. So given that, let's take a look at this question again. List and describe steps to making a managerial decision. First, we might want to give a little bit of detail of what a managerial accounting type decision might look like, as opposed to basically financial accounting decisions or normal day-to-day financial type of transactions. So remember, the financial accounting types of transactions are us compiling, recording information, compiling them into financial statements, into those financial statements in accordance with a set of rules. The managerial accounting, of course, is going to be making decisions for the benefit of the company for internal use, and therefore, and often those decisions are going to be outside kind of the normal day-to-day type of transactions of just recording the day-to-day transactions in accordance with a process, a system that's going to be set up. Our managerial decisions, of course, are going to be those bigger decisions that are going to be a little more unusual, and therefore don't have a defined process typically. So when we go through that decision, those types of decisions, we're going to go through a type of decision-making process that we might see in any kind of large decision. If we were making a large decision for our personal lives, we probably would want to go through a similar type of decision-making process. So we might start off the managerial accounting decision-making process by defining the decision task. What are we trying to do? This seems obvious, but it's not as obvious as we would think, because if we're in the managerial accounting and we're trying to make this decision, we might be including other people as well. We want to make sure that not only we are clear on the task that we're looking for, but also that we're communicating that well to people helping us to make the decision, so that when they compile the information, they have our objective in mind, and our objective is identified at that point in time, so that everybody's kind of on the same page, which is more difficult than it might sound at first. So identify alternative courses of actions. We might do some kind of planning in terms of everybody throwing some ideas out there to see what those different types of alternatives might be. We then might narrow down some of those alternatives to the ones that we believe are going to be the most plausible type of alternatives. We'll identify what those alternatives are, what it takes to put those alternatives together, and then we can collect relevant information to evaluate each alternative. We'll actually collect the data and say, all right, here's the alternatives we think are viable. Let's go through the process of collecting data, this being a time-consuming type of process. So we want to make sure that we narrow down to the most plausible decisions, collect the data, and then select the course of action that we're going to decide on, right? We'll pick a course of action, of course. Then we'll implement that course of action, and we then often want to, or generally do want to, review the process. We want to analyze how our process went, the decision that happened, and whether or not the decision is good. And although many of these managerial accounting decisions are one-time things, or they're not regular systematic decisions, in other words, the next managerial accounting decision will differ, we will have and could implement a similar decision-making process, so that the process that we put into, the thought process of going through this decision-making, is somewhat systematic and can improve, even though the actual decision we're making, the question we're answering, will differ from time to time, from decision to decision.